Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Live with City Manager Kenny Martin. It's a Mount Juliet community update about all the good news in between and happening in our community. And Kenny, how's it going with you today?
Beautiful day, man. It's absolutely gorgeous outside. Yesterday was gorgeous, just enjoying the weather. How about yourself, Captain?
Hey, all's good. I rushed to the office so we could do this. We still have officers out in the Belinda City area. They're doing popsicle patrol. Was out there taking a couple photos, but had to get back for this. But it's a beautiful day, and hey, if we can get outside and hand out some popsicles to kids and people out in their front yard, it's a pretty awesome thing to be able to do in our community.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Hey, and I know that you'd rather be there doing that, so would I, than this. I can assure you.
Hey, glad to be here and glad to do what we can to keep our community informed. So we have 62 people watching right now. So if you are joining, just please comment. Let us know that you're here. Let us know that you're from our community. We would love to hear from you with all the feedback. And if you have any questions, this is a interactive update. So you can type your question in the comments, and then we can see that and read it and then answer your question live on air in this broadcast. So please feel free to ask any question related to city government or the police department. Kenny and I are both here to keep our community informed. So Debbie, you say you're watching. Welcome. Nee, welcome to the broadcast, and Lisa and Vicky. So a lot of you joining in. Thank you so much for joining this afternoon. And Kenny, we just got a pretty cool update. You were sent some photos, and it says we finished and we have a brand new piece of artwork in our community. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can, yeah. A few weeks back, our wonderful art teacher at the Mount Juliet High School, Miss Christie, sent me a note. She walks the Jackson Hills. We call it the Jackson Hills Greenway, and basically said, would you have a problem if I painted a mural on here with some of our high school students? I said, absolutely not. And Captain, as you're aware, that mural, that concrete sometimes gets some graffiti on it. It had a little bit of graffiti on it. You can tell from the pictures. It's also got some greenery growing on it. And she said, I'd really like to put something really pretty. So she sent me some examples, and I said, I really, really like this. And they just finished today. And I know you're going to show the pictures, or if you can see.
Sure, they're up right now, before and after.
Exactly. And they just did such a good job. And it's been so hot. And I can't thank Miss Christie enough. I tried to call her today, but I wasn't able to get through. So if she's out there listening, or if anybody knows the art teacher at the Mount Juliet High School and the students, I hope to thank them formally at some point, because we've been communicating via email and all in text. Just can't thank her enough. It's absolutely beautiful. And I just think it gives us something else again that we look to that's pretty, it's artistic. It's a lot of talent in those young ladies that did that. I think you're seeing it now for those at home watching. It's just beautiful, and those are the precious ladies that did it. They're so very talented, and just want to thank them. It makes me feel good for our city, and I think what you're seeing, there's a lot of what our society and community needs more of.
Yeah, for sure. I walk that Greenway quite often. It's near my home, and I always walk under that bridge, and it's just plain concrete. So now to be able to see that beautiful art design is pretty cool, and very thankful of the teacher and those ladies who went out and just did an awesome job. It's definitely a piece of art.
Yeah, and if you look at the one, it says I love what they said, the statement. It says love wins, and it's absolutely so true. So hope everybody enjoys that, and really appreciate those ladies for taking their time and showing their precious talents and sharing it with the community.
Yeah, very, very awesome. So thank you to them for all of that. That's absolutely fantastic. And moving on to another awesome thing that our community did for the city and for the fire department, I understand they received a donation of what are called UTVs, utility vehicles, or in common terms, gators.
Exactly.
And about the gator donation and how that came about.
Yeah, right after the tornadoes that tragically struck our community, I met with members of the police department, including yourself, and also our chief of the fire department, Jamie Luffman, and trying to get a feel for, sort of basically after the incident, what could we have done better? What do we need? What kind of tools do we need? And everybody, for the most part, had everything they needed. But the one thing that we realized we could use more of was the vehicles to get to people. You don't think about, if there's a tornado or a disaster, how do you get to them in a police car or a pickup truck? So these UTV vehicles, as I call gators, or all-terrain vehicles, we could use a couple. So I reached out to a couple of business owners. One of those is Bob and Gadazra, that owns the Hampton Inn and also the Courtyard at Marriott. and also Providence Marketplace and David Hades, and they made contributions. And I also reached out to our church members here in the community, and they just took the ball from there and ran with it. And I was blown away. You're looking at about $32,000 worth of equipment there that costs the taxpayers not one red cent, that'll save lives and help us do our jobs in an even better way than what we did. And I'm so proud. I want to make that very clear, of the police department, fire department, parks department, public works, our city beautification team, the volunteers, our citizens. You look back on a tornado like that and you're like, what could we have done different? And as an old saying goes, it's you're never really truly prepared for a disaster. But for a city that had really never faced anything like that, I could just not be prouder. And for folks to step up during these trying times, and Daryl Crouch in particular, the pastor at Green Hill Church, just a fabulous man. He reached out to all these other groups, and everyone's Wilson. And we had the event this weekend, and just love it. It's just another example, Captain, of what makes our community so great. And I've said that before, and we'll continue to say it. We are not perfect. I am definitely not perfect.
Sure.
And and I know there's, but we strive to be. That's the difference is, and it hurts us when we don't reach our goals. Mm-hmm. So we listen to our citizens loud and clear. So if there's something that they felt like we could have done better, sometimes we know we did everything we possibly could. It still hurts to the core, and I love that about our city. I love it about our community. I love it about you and the police department, because I know how they feel about that. And I'm hoping that during these trying times that our citizens and those that live here, which I feel certain they're already doing, will look even deeper into the city of Mount Juliet, this precious community in all of Wilson County, and just realize how truly blessed we are to call this place home. We all strive daily to not only keep everybody safe, but to make the quality of life as high as it can be without putting a huge burden on our citizens, to where they've got a place to come home, feel comfortable, feel safe, and I guess hopeful. Maybe hopeful is the best word for the future. And that's our jobs, and that's what we're going to do, and we're going to put every bit of our being into that.
Yeah, absolutely. And when the tornado was hitting Mount Juliet, I was in my car and rushing out there to the scene because we knew it sounded bad on the radio. And it was immediately apparent that normal vehicles could not travel through the tornado damaged area. Officers and firefighters were having to park and then walk long distances to get to people and haul equipment to people. And it was clear we needed our ATVs as a police department immediately on the scene. So we got them on the scene quick, but then we needed more, and our fire department needed more. So then we reached out to our local John Deere in town, and they sent us some for free at no cost. But then I see now everyone's Wilson and those businesses you mentioned, they're going to make sure that we have them on hand and ready to go. Of course, our fire department can use those at other events, I'm sure, which we'll talk about later, the 4th of July. They're going to be out and about in the Gators for 4th of July to keep everyone safe and transport whatever they need with their equipment for that. So it's really awesome to see that they get these pieces of equipment, because they will definitely be used in really a lot of stuff that we do in our community, so that's awesome.
That's what I love. A lot of the stuff that you're seeing folks across the country start to do in their communities and their police departments in particular, and fire departments, this community's been doing for years. For example, the bike patrol, I was the first one to go through that years ago. Sure. A lot of times folks look at a bike and go, what does it really accomplish? And if you've watched a lot of TV lately, you've seen that. If the roads are blocked or obstructed in any way, these officers can get through. And a lot of times they've got medical equipment, things of that nature, in those bags on the back of those bicycles.
Sure.
Enables them to get there really, really quick, a lot quicker than what a car could in stuck traffic. So just a lot of the creative things that we already do here just makes me extremely proud and of everyone in our community.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And on the lines of tornado, there was recently a cleanup effort about 2 weekends ago on Sycamore Drive. You remember, I think one of our local commissioners reached out to you and needed some help with a resident who contacted them with cleanup. And can you talk a little bit about that and how we got that resident help on Sycamore Drive?
Absolutely. This particular resident had a unique shaped lot, and Commissioner Giles, who, if you think about the area that was most stricken by the tornado, that entire district is represented by Commissioner Art Giles, and he had a unique lot to where getting to it was most difficult, even for our crews. And so it took a few extra weeks to get to it, but everyone's Wilson and the recovery group basically got a group of students. I believe a majority of them were from Green Hill High School. I believe maybe the football team. And correct me if I'm wrong, that captain. But just again, yet an example of something that's not necessarily something that the cities necessarily geared to do or is even a city issue, we all still pull together. I know you were very instrumental in that as well, as helping get people organized, along with Ms. Gerton and other people, to pull these folks together. And we just don't give up until we get the job done. And I think that made the local news as well.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the point of this is, if there is anyone out there that needs help, Recovery Wilson is out there to get the help that you need. Their information is on our city's website, on our police department website, on our social media.
Yeah.
So if you are still out there and you see something that you just need help with in the recovery process after this tornado, there is still an organization out there that is there to help you.
Yeah.
And that's a prime example, 2 weekends ago, how it was a lot of work that had to be done on this property, a lot of large trees down, and they organized the effort to clean it up. And I know our public works department then went out to remove that debris from roadside to have it properly, I guess, chipped and then sent off somewhere else. But
well, and that was a hot weekend. It's probably the hottest weekend we've had this year. And you think of those young folks out there and the adults and citizens, and when you think of Recovery Wilson, didn't that start out originally as Recovery Wilson, also Recovery Mount Juliet?
it did.
And it sort of morphed into one organization, and they're still out there. So to think of just a little over 90 days ago, we had a catastrophic tornado strike this community. And if you go through it today, a lot of the scars are still there.
Mm-hmm.
But man, so much healing has occurred since that time that I'm just blown away of the progress this community's made. And that doesn't happen without good teamwork on behalf of, what we do here at the city is one thing, but we can't do very much without the citizens. And you think of all the effort and the work that they put in, it just blows you away. And it's not that you ever see it, it just happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And I noticed some infrastructure projects are continuing. I saw, when that tornado came through, it knocked down all the poles. So it was really dark now at night when you drive through that area. And then today I was looking up and we have street lights now on those poles.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they have power yet, but it's good to see that we're putting the street lights back on the poles so it won't be as dark at night in front of the middle school where the tornado came through. But I know there's a lot of other infrastructure projects going on. The sidewalk project on Lebanon Road, I see that. What other projects do we have happening?
Yeah, the Blended City project with the sidewalks is just about to wrap up, and I appreciate everybody's patience. That's in District 4 over in the Providence area. It's taken a little while. It does, when you've got windstorms and tornadoes, and we've had just a ton of rain in recent months, so it got some of those projects a little bit behind. But if you've traveled over there recently, they've just about got all the paving completed. They've got most all the sidewalks done. We're doing the touch-up work now, remove the rocks from the grass, maybe add some more seed and straw here. So those barricades and cones and things of that nature should be getting cleaned up here real soon. But you're right, Lebanon Road is a perfect example. Of course, the Jackson Hills Greenway, that's just a wonderful addition. The West Division Greenway, as I call it, if everybody's been through there, that's getting very close. We should be done with that by the end of this month. We're finishing up. There'll be some fine details that'll continue probably going into July and August.
Sure.
That's going really well. So I'm excited about that. And every project that comes to town now, we require, especially if it's a commercial development in particular, if it fronts a road, it has to have a sidewalk. If it's a residential development, they're looking for sidewalks and greenways to be added. And the hope is that eventually our entire city is connected in some shape, form, or fashion. For example, there's a project that will be going in at some point along Oliver Road. It's an apartment type complex close to the old Wintry Golf Course. Well, if that comes in, they're going to have to add a series of sidewalks down Oliver Road all the way to Lebanon Road. So eventually you see all those sidewalks coming together. So I love that we're doing that now as a city, because the maintenance of sidewalks can be expensive because you get them in bits and pieces, sections here and there that raise up or crack or get damaged. Right. It's a whole lot easier to replace just a little section of a sidewalk. It's rare that you ever replace huge sections.
Right.
So with the future, you can tell that a lot of folks, the more dense your community gets, the more apt you are to walk, because one business leads to another business and another event and so on and so on. So really excited about that. I know I'm just touching on the tip of the iceberg, but for example, when our bridge project at I-40 gets added in, you're not going to recognize that bridge. It just won't be two plain Jane concrete barriers that go across the interstate. It's going to be beautiful brick and stone, ornate metal, and it's going to be very decorative with street lights, and there'll be walkways and bike lanes on both sides across the bridge, with the addition of another lane for travel. Nice. I get excited about that. So those walls can sort of sometimes blend in and be mundane and very institutional looking or industrial looking. Just imagine what it's going to look like when it speaks volumes to your community And those are things that are mostly paid for through grants.
Yeah, that's great. I've watched all the recent infrastructure, happening right now, whether it's Woodridge, Lebanon Road, Belinda Parkway, the Town Center West Division Greenway, Jackson Hills Greenway, the new traffic light at Northwest Rutland. We're doing a lot with less. And when I say less, is we're getting a lot of grants, like you mentioned, to pay for this.
Yes.
Which is just awesome to see, because we pay tax dollars into the federal government and the state government. And it's nice to see that that's coming back and invested back into our community.
Yeah.
Make our community more beautiful, but also provide things that our residents can enjoy.
Well, nobody necessarily likes, it's a good point, Cap. Nobody necessarily likes traffic signals, for example, but they're necessary to make for safe ingress and egress.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the light at Northwest Rutland that was just added, it was paid for by a commercial development project at no cost to the taxpayers. The light at Park Glen Drive, which was added a couple of years ago, it was paid for through a grant at the state, so no cost to the city. The light at Green Hill Road, which will be moved to basically the Green Hill High School on Lebanon Road, it'll be moved just a little bit further east. That's actually a better location for the light, but we felt like that light was needed back when it was at Green Hill Road, just to make that safer for people to get in and out. When it's moved further east, it'll be even better, because that road will be realigned as everybody can tell what's happening. No cost there either. So sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but the good thing is it keeps us from having to pass that cost burden onto the citizens.
Sure.
And our city's just been really good about doing that for a long time. So I commend our elected body. I commend the state of Tennessee for all the assistance, and our local representatives for helping us with that. But everybody works here really hard with our citizens. So most important, I just appreciate their teamwork, and I appreciate their patience.
Yeah, very, very, very cool to see all that's happening. And part about good stuff happening again is 4th of July. We are going to have a fireworks show, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We want to put some smiles on some folks' faces. And, we encourage folks, of course, to wear the mask and participate in social distancing if we can. And we know that people won't from their families. We don't anticipate that.
Right.
But yeah, we feel like folks deserve to celebrate their country and to get out and have a good time and enjoy their community and all the great things it has to offer.
Yeah, very cool. I was reading, the governor's guidelines on the COVID and the, physical distancing that needs to occur, and fireworks shows are specifically mentioned, and they're allowed.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically just state, if once you get to your parking space with your family or your close group of friends that you're with, it's kind of just stay there. Don't, run through a bunch of different people and create larger crowds, but either stay in your car or stay at or around your vehicle to enjoy the fireworks show. And those fireworks are visible basically in the area of Lebanon Road, Mount Juliet Road, all those parking lots nearby, Publix to Kroger. Of course, we wanted a lot of people to go to the Mount Juliet League ball fields, because that's the best location to view it, because that's where they're being launched from. There is a $10 parking fee per vehicle, but that $10 fee goes back to the youth and back to the Mount Juliet League ball fields, so it's kind of it's a fundraiser for them to raise funds for their youth, baseball and softball.
Yeah, and I hope that folks will park there, even if it's an extra $10. The show itself is free, especially park for the kids, because the Mount Juliet League in particular, a lot of these kids have not been able to get out and play, to play baseball and the other sports. And now that this has opened up, and as a result, they've struggled a little bit with some of their typical fundraising efforts. So even if there's a place you can park for free, we encourage folks, if they can, to park at the Mount Juliet League, so it supports these kids and these coaches. Lots of moms and dads in there volunteering so much time. And many of us, our children grew up down there as well. And that's what we think so special about our community, is places like the Mount Juliet. I can still refer to it as the Mount Juliet Little League.
Right, I do too.
Yeah, we've already had, speaking of fireworks, about 20 tent applicants, which means that a lot of folks are apparently excited about shooting fireworks this year. And we want them to be very respectful and understanding of pets and livestock and things of that nature, and especially around our assisted living facilities and things of that nature, to be as respectful as you can for that. That's why we hold the shows in certain places where we do, is so we try to keep ourselves as far away as we can. We do understand that fireworks, in a lot of ways, a lot of folks may not necessarily enjoy them. So please be respectful of your neighbors and hours and times of day and night that you shoot them. And Captain, you know that better than I do, and probably already putting that information out there. But we're very responsible for the show that we put on. We hope everybody has a good time. We hope that people come and visit our community during this event, of course, so they can see what's so great about Mount Juliet. And while they're here, we hope they spend some money with some of our businesses, because our business has been through a lot. And I spent a part of my morning this morning writing an article that I'm going to send out that basically says thanks to our business owners because they've been through a tough time as well, as everybody knows. And just imagine what our community would be like if you couldn't just ride down the road to the local, barbershop, or the local, Houston's Meat and Produce, which is our local meat place. If you didn't have those places, how different it'd be, and you had to drive like the old days and go to an entirely different community. Do it safely, but please, 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 if there's a business to be supported, support our businesses, especially businesses within this county. If you think about spending things, it makes such a huge impact, especially now during these trying times. So I want to thank the business owners out there that have invested life savings, in particular the mom and pop businesses, because that's what, that's basically in a lot of ways what funds our schools and the police department and city and county, and all these things don't happen without our citizens.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of businesses, I know we have some new ones coming on board. Do you want to speak about that? I think you mentioned some at the Board of Commissioners meeting recently, but like Hibachi Jr., what else we have coming on board?
Yeah, the Hibachi Jr. is cool. You don't think about it a lot of times when you hear a business that you've never heard of before, say if it came from a food truck, but that business will still employ people. That business will still generate sales tax revenue. That business will still create comfort and convenience for our citizens, and it'll fill in a building that's empty right now. So that's a huge opportunity for our city. For example, the 3 new Dollar General stores that are going in, you may not necessarily be the person that patronizes a business like that, but it creates jobs, sales tax, property tax, revenues for our city, and conveniences. So we've got 3 of those going in. And the reason they build those is for what reason? To serve the citizens. And they build them where the demand is there. And so I'm very appreciative, because a lot of times those Dollar Generals are owned by local residents who own the property, but then lease back to Dollar General. So, it's the trickle down effect, I guess you say, or the ripple effect that comes from that is a good thing for our city. There's some businesses I know that have closed, for example, Logan's, not just in Mount Juliet, not because we weren't patronizing them, it's just that they closed all their stores. And we're already working with others, and sometimes the replacement that goes back in there is something that the citizens really want. So please know your staff and others are working really, really hard to get those places filled in. For example, Pier 1, they'll probably be finished and closed up probably close to August or September. They're liquidating all the inventory. All the stores are closing, not just the one in Mount Juliet. And we're already having folks reaching out saying, I want to go in that spot. Awesome. So you always hate to lose a business, but if you think back in the day when we lost Gander Mountain, when it closed, what replaced it? Hobby Lobby.
Right.
So we're in a very wonderful community, and there's businesses that want to be here. And that's why it's important for us to patronize our businesses. Because not only does it help the businesses here, it also sends a message to people looking to move their business here. One that I can speak to that isn't quite confirmed yet, but I can tell you that they're working here, and reach out to them and say, please, 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 you can't get here quick enough. It's Chicken Salad Chick.
All right.
I know a lot of our residents have asked about that, and and they're looking. As a matter of fact, and they probably have like a letter of intent for somewhere here. So make sure you reach out to them periodically and let them know how much you want them to be here, to come to our community. But also make sure that you let the businesses know that are already here how much you appreciate them. Because you think about this, Captain, these are the folks that had a dream and a vision, and they saved money and put everything they had into it, hoping that somebody would come through their door and patronize their business. That is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Mom is excited about Slotsky. She loves Slotsky.
Yes.
I know that's opening up soon. So that was something we didn't have here.
Yes.
And when she knew it was coming, she was excited. I'm sure there's a lot of people in our community excited about that. And when did they open up? Is it the 18th?
Yes, I believe it's the 18th. And that gentleman lives in his city. He's opened 2 stores. So a lot of times when people think of corporate stores as opposed to mom and pops, it's sort of like Ray Daniel at Chick-fil-A. He's local. That's a mom and pop operation. It's just got a national chain name attached to it.
Right.
And it's not a better person than Mr. Daniel. He does so much for this community. Well, that's the same thing with Mr. Dunn, who is the owner of the Slotskys. Lots of wonderful people out here. And so please, please, please support those businesses. You got to think he was supposed to open back in March with the Slotskys. And we've had the tornadoes and windstorms and other things. And now here we are, it's in June. They're excited about hoping people come patronize their business. But there's many other things we're working on. And unfortunately, there'll still be some bad news to come with some businesses that have hung on the best they could and just won't make it in the end of the day. For example, Sugar Peas, which is down here on Mount Jet Road, those ladies opened up 10 years ago, and they've decided to retire. So if somebody's looking for a wonderful business opportunity, because we'd love to see that store continue, reach out to those ladies, because they have done a wonderful job I remember when they first came here. I remember their first location. So I want to give them a shout out for what they've done, and everybody a shout out for what they do for our city.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and get to questions, folks. Thank you for joining the live feed. And if you have any questions, please just type those in the comments. This is an interactive update with our community, and we will be glad to get to questions. I see a lot of different comments about all the great job and about the police department, about the city, about you, Kenny. A lot of great comments here. Rose Carter says, "Hey guys, how are y'all?" So, Rose, I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, Miss Rose has worked for the city for a long time. One of the sweetest people we know. Hello, Miss Rose.
And you have Brooklyn saying, "Hi, grandpops."
That's my daughter-in-law, my precious granddaughter, and I'm sure little Owen's at home too. So hello, Miss Brookie. Hope you're hearing this to where you can hear Grandpop say hello.
Awesome. Mr. Hefner has a question about the sidewalk issue, and I know me and you noticed this last week when we were doing the BPAC walk. We were walking down the sidewalk and it was raised. You pointed it out and said that it needs to be fixed, and I'm pretty sure you got with Public Works and they have a plan to get that fixed.
Yeah, Mr. Hefner is correct. This time of year, especially with the heat of the summer, there's this sort of a odd thing that happens when that heat builds up in that concrete. We call it ramping, and that sidewalk will buckle up. And unfortunately, we've tried to drive over it and push it back down, but that just won't happen. The only way that's going to be able to be fixed is to pull that entire section of concrete out and just pour a whole new section. And Mr. Hefner, thank you so much for pointing that out. And you probably originally are the one that called us and let us know about that. And please feel free to reach out to us anytime. Sometimes we've got multiple sections like that that's around town. If it doesn't have cones out there now, having it blocked off, then I'll get with our city beautification team and we'll get some cones out there and get that in the other section blocked off as well.
Sure. Kenny, I noticed that it kind of happens a lot when the weather changes, either real cold or gets real hot, and that just sends it buckling up in different spots. But then I've seen our public works crews go out and I think they just remove those sections, like you said earlier, and fix it. So it's good that it is concrete like that, where we can just remove a section and easily fix what does pop out.
Yeah, that's one of the downsides to concrete or even asphalt, particularly the concrete. It'll just ramp up like that, and the only way to fix it, and it does it at the joints, oddly enough, and that's pretty common. It just constricts and expands, and but yeah, we'll get that taken care of.
Awesome. Andy Long saying here, he says, "Thanks for the brush pickup service. Those guys do a great job with the new grapple boom trucks." And I've seen those trucks traveling all over town. They've been super busy with the tornado, with our straight line windstorm that came through about a month and a half later. And they've just been very busy, and appreciate all the work that they do. Going here with Chris Long. He's talking about the traffic lights being timed from Publix and Providence all the way to Division. And I know they're already timed and working together, but Public Works has another upgrade coming on board that basically allows them to report back to the computer that times them, I guess, better. I know you and I aren't involved in Public Works with those lights, but I do know there's an upgrade coming to help those lights function even better throughout the whole city.
It is. If you remember, I mean, years and years ago, and Chris, that's a great question for anybody else out there. Sometimes the traffic just overwhelms even a good timed light. Sometimes there's just so much traffic coming from different directions that no matter how much you tweak it, it's just going to be what it is at that particular peak time. Years and years ago, none of our traffic lights communicated with one another. And what that meant is you could literally go through one light and it'd be green, and you get to the next light and it would be red. Well, through the system the city put in a few years back, which was mainly in the Providence area, probably from about Walmart all the way through Providence, we put the new system in, which allows those lights to talk to one another, and we can work on the timing from right here at City Hall through our IT and Public Works departments. Well, we're going to expand that program throughout the entire city to where they communicate with one another. But we still understand that no matter how much the tweaking is done, that sometimes there's just times when it's just overwhelmed, the system is overwhelmed, and you're going to have some backups. And sometimes that backup, and Captain, you probably see this a whole lot. I know I did in a lot of years I was in the police department. It isn't so much from the traffic. We as humans are not perfect, so sometimes we get distracted, be it texting or communicating with somebody or just not paying attention. And if you think about it, if that happens every so many minutes, that traffic gets backed up from there. So when we're driving, not to be critical of anybody, because I'm just as bad as anybody else, but as humans, sometimes we get easily distracted. And when we do that, it can create the traffic as well. Our Public Works Director, Mr. Barlow, likes to say sometimes that we like to complain about traffic. And I do. But he says it's important to remember that we are the traffic. So we just have to work together, but make us aware of those shortcomings, make us aware of those issues to where maybe something doesn't seem to be working like what it was, because it could be something that is creating the issue. It could be just nothing more than a pothole, and people are having to go around it in slow, or it could be some debris in the road, or it could be a real issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Lewis here is commenting, and he remembers when there were just 2 lights from Belinda, to the interstate. He says now it's many lights. And Lewis, you're right. Kenny's been around this town a lot longer than I have, and I think he was patrolling the city on horse and buggy.
Yeah.
He probably bought the first motorized police car.
Yeah, we used to write citations on slate tablets.
On slate? Wow.
Yeah, slate,
Pretty cool. And now we have coming next month, we'll be writing citations on handheld devices. So It's amazing how stuff comes along. But Lewis, you are right. This city is growing, and I know our police department and city and everyone is doing the best we can to manage the growth conservatively. So we're just not out here spending a bunch of money left and right, and using our grant resources as we can to help pay for a lot of the infrastructure. That's one reason why we're able to keep our property tax so low in our community, is because they all very conservative. And Lewis added another comment. He says, you pulled his mother over once, but you were very nice.
Well, I hope I didn't write Mom a citation.
That's good.
Man, Lewis has been here a long time, because I remember when myself and Sergeant Mundy first came on and went to the academy, we got made fun of at the police academy because they called us a 2 traffic light town.
Sure.
And look at this city today, and it's far beyond what 2 traffic lights are. So Lewis, I hope you're doing well. Hope Mom's doing well, and tell Mom I hope I didn't write her a citation back then.
There you go. You've issued plenty of citations, though.
I did issue a few.
Yeah, I did too, and I still get out there. And if someone's acting a fool and driving unsafe, they'll probably get a ticket from me too. So, Heather has the question with the building permits that are being waived for those affected by the tornadoes. If those have paid, is there any way to get them reimbursed?
Yes, absolutely, Ms. Cook. If you'll call the finance department at the City of Mount Juliet, that number is 615-754-2552, and just give them your address. And then what they'll do is they'll have to do a little bit of research to determine from your address what permits were pulled, and then they'll go from there to see that you get reimbursed. And I know that took a little while, but everybody was so busy early on with the tornado, and they were trying to make a determination, what insurance would cover and what it wouldn't. And as soon as we started figuring out that there's going to be certain situations where folks unfortunately fell through the cracks or didn't have enough coverage, our commission quickly responded, and they passed that this past Monday. It took 1 resolution reading, so that's done. So yes, ma'am, just reach out to the city, and they'll get you taken care of.
Very cool. Kenny, do you have anything else to say to close this out?
No, I just want to thank everybody. Again, I know, I've got 2 grandbabies. I got a beautiful wife, and and you hear these tragedies every day in your community, and we lose another precious person in our community every day, just from just life itself, through either vicious car wrecks or just natural causes. And I hate that, and that's just another wonderful citizen that we've lost. So please pray for those families that have lost loved ones, those that are struggling, that may have a sick relative at home, because I can only imagine. I've been through that with my wife, with her mom and dad, and we cared for them for a long time. And you see these people. It's to remember that they're human beings. Sometimes we get caught up, and maybe we forget that. And I don't want to get too mushy here, but the truth of the matter is we're all dealing with all that we're seeing on the news every day. We all dealt with the tornado. We're dealing with COVID. We're dealing with the uncertainty in politics and what goes on there. It can be scary. I get calls every day from precious residents. For example, there's a little bit of protesting that's been in town this week, and it's all went so well. It's peaceful protesting, and I think there's another coming up. And sometimes folks will call because they're concerned about something they've heard or something they've saw on TV, and they're just worried. They're just concerned. And so a lot of times having somebody to reach out to that you can call and get that answer, or just have them hear you out. Again, we're not perfect. There's going to be times that we just don't get it right, but it's never from a lack of intent. So I will let folks know out there that we're praying for you. We're here for you. That's our job. That's our responsibility. It's our passion. And I know it is with you, Captain. I've watched you grow up here just as basically, I hate to say a kid, and you're a wonderful young man now. You're captain of the police department, 3rd in charge. I mean, that's absolutely phenomenal. And those are the success stories. That's what we try to build our community around, is learn from our mistakes. And that's why it hurts so bad when we don't quite hit our marks where we want to. So please know that we're all human beings. We know that everybody that we serve is human beings. And I think the more that we're patient, understanding, respectful, and passionate about what we do here, we can only get better. We like to say here, we can't control what happens in the county, the state, or the federal government, but we want to make a big difference in our city of Mount Juliet. The way we look at it, that's where our passion lies, and that's what our jobs are, and that's exactly what we're going to do. And again, sometimes we may do something like the mural or the piano or the general store. We're just trying to create smiles and happiness. And if I see one person taking a picture there, like the two young ladies here recently taking a picture in their prom dresses, I'm fast forwarding 40 years from now, and I'm wondering if those young ladies are looking back at those pictures and cherishing those memories. And that's what we want to create here. So I just want to say, anybody needs anything out there, please reach out to us. If you know somebody's in need, reach out to us, because we'll try to get some donations together for them, or some gift cards, as you've done yourself, Captain. We just want to help people. We want to make life as pleasant as possible during even these very, very tough times.
Yeah, absolutely, Kenny. And I like to say is, you see all this going around the world and in different communities, but and what I tell our officers here and with our city and what we do is, let's be that beacon of light for other people to look towards, other law enforcement agencies to look towards, other cities to look at what our city's doing for our community, to do the right thing, to love people, to be kind, to be compassionate, to give our 110% in whatever we need to do to serve our community and serve with heart. And here within the police department, we're not going to waver, and we're going to keep this community safe as best as we can through the servant's heart, and just doing whatever we can for people, no matter what it is. We're here to help and we're here to serve.
Yep, absolutely. Well said, my friend.
All right. Same to you, and to everyone joining. Thank you so much for joining this live broadcast with our city manager, Kenny Martin, that we try to do weekly, typically on a Thursday or a Friday, sometimes in the afternoon around 3 o'clock. But thank you for joining. If you like what you saw, please like the broadcast. Please share it with your friends on your Facebook or Twitter or Periscope or YouTube, whatever you're watching it on right now. Just share that so we get more engagement, so more community members see these updates and they know what's happening in our community, especially with all the good that is happening in our community. So if there's anything that we can do for you, all you have to do is just give us a call. So thank you so much for joining, and have a safe weekend.
Thanks, everybody.